New food pyramid just dropped, and here's what you need to know. The good, the bad, and the confusing. Dr. Fonda here to break down the new USDA dietary guidelines. So last week, the Department of Health and Human Services threw out the previous MyPlate dietary recs and replaced it with this pyramid with the tagline, Eat Real Food. Now, there are new guidelines every 5 or so years, and the reasoning for changing to the MyPlate back in 2011 was because the previous pyramids from the 90s and 2000s had outdated recommendations, and it was impractical for daily meal planning, so a plate made more sense for portioning your meals. Half your plate's veggies and fruits, and the other half of your plate is grains and protein. So at its core, the new recommendations are prioritizing high-quality protein, healthy fats, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, and avoiding highly processed foods and added sugars, all of which is great advice. But there's some issues with it. When you look at the pyramid, there's no clear portion recommendations. There's a whole chicken next to a head of broccoli, can of green beans next to olive oil, and a single walnut next to a stick of butter. Now, portion control is the #1 reason why you gain weight. You can eat good and non-processed foods, but if you consume too much, it's no longer a healthy diet. So what do they say about portion sizes? Now, when you go to the website, the daily portion recommendations are about the same, actually, as the previous recommendations and dietary guidelines. 3 servings of veggies, 2 servings of fruit, 2 to 4 servings of whole grains, and the protein recommendation is to get 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram daily. Now, raise your hand if you're American and you know your weight in kilos off the top of your head. So a rough estimate would be to multiply your weight in pounds by 0.5 to 0.75 for those recommendations. Now, they also recommended on the website to get less than 10% of calories from saturated fat. But then they emphasize red meat and full-fat dairy, both of which are very high in saturated fat, which can lead to a lot of confusion on what meats to eat, especially for those with cardiovascular disease and cholesterol issues. So the positives are that it's promoting protein, healthy fats, and taking a hard line against highly processed food and added sugars. The new guidelines are good at their core, but the pyramid's a bit vague, doesn't communicate the guidelines clearly until you dive into the website, and has some confusing graphics that conflict with the recommendations, specifically with the red meats. In summary, make sure to get in healthy protein, control your portion size, minimize overprocessed foods and added sugars, and exercise.